I believe we are all the way live. So, in that case, hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass live in living color here on YouTube. Yes, YouTube. I know there's been a lot of controversy about this beautiful streaming platform service as of late. My good buddy Rambo fan, he's calling it quits at the end of this year, which is really sad because of the Kappa thing. I'll be honest with you, I'm streaming this on StreamYard because I tried to stream live on YouTube itself, and I don't know why, but it would not let me go live. So I don't know if that's Kappa. I don't know what the hell the problem is because the subject at hand on my show today is definitely not for kids under 18. So I'll preface this video by saying that it asked me to click something to confirm that, and I was just like, "That's the first time I'm seeing this." So I guess that's been approved. I guess that's kind of the way it is now. It's the lay of the land, I guess. But yeah, man, I was just like, "Yo, I have been dying to talk about this particular subject for a while on my channel, and I was just like, today's the day I'm going to do it. So screw this, throwing all the Kappa stuff out of the window. And I figured I'm just like, yo, I'm going to go head first into the cannibal films on the fabled Video Nasties list. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I'm talking about the 72 films banned in Britain in, I believe it was 1983. The official list was created. So yeah, that list I actually have. This is a really cool. If you ever, oh yeah, Kappa's after my graveyard. They are, brother Nate. How are you, my friend? Dude, I am afraid of Kappa, man. I had to click like four different things to get away from them just to stream live here. But if anybody is interested, if anybody has not seen, Video Nasties, the documentary on the Video Nasties. Sorry about my phone going off. To see, I'm an amateur. I'm doing the show from home this week because I got to take my grandmother to the doctor in a little bit. So I figured, hell, I'll just stream it in my room. This is an awesome, awesome documentary right here. The Video Nasties, the complete guide. I believe you have over 19 hours of entertainment. It's like a 3 disc set. It's actually incredible here. I can show you a little bit of the inside here. Just incredible set. Basically, what you have on disc one is the documentary itself on the Video Nasties, and then on discs 2 and 3, they talk about the films that were prosecuted and not prosecuted. The films that were prosecuted generally are the more extreme ones, and then the films that were not prosecuted are generally, the less extreme, but some of them are, they're definitely blur some lines. But on these the other discs, you have trailers to the movies, and then you have one like film historian discussing the cannibal movies and well, discussing all these movies. But in retrospect today, I really wanted to talk about just the cannibal films on these lists because I've seen them all now. I'm a huge fan of the cannibal subgenre of horror, and I also watched on this DVD, which is an awesome Grindhouse releasing. And oh, dude, thank you, Nate. I appreciate you enjoying the stream. Rock on, brother. We got a fun day of cannibalism in for store, so please stay tuned. Yeah, so Cannibal Ferox on this DVD, or this Blu-ray, I guess, you have an awesome, awesome documentary called "Eaten Alive: The Rise and Fall of the Italian Cannibal Film," and they literally give you a complete retrospective on cannibal movies, like where they started, where they started to fall, and resurgence attempts where Eli Roth made The Green Inferno. And I thought that movie stunk personally, but I don't know. There are some people that like it. Hats off to you if you do like it. I don't know. It just wasn't my cup of tea, especially after seeing all these movies. It's better than Cannibal Terror. I could preface that, but that's about it. Yeah, so that's an awesome documentary on this Grindhouse release. This is an amazing release, by the way. Like the features, the behind the scenes, the midnight screening stuff with Sage Stallone. Yes, the sperm of Rambo, Sage Stallone. May he rest in peace. He was actually at the premiere when they showed this in New York City. I just thought that was super cool. That Sage Stallone was super into grindhouse, grimy horror movies. Yeah, so he's on this Blu-ray. It's awesome. So yeah, I figured I'm gonna go through all of these cannibal movies. I've got a little list on my phone here, so I'm definitely going to be reading off that and discussing from that. And I don't know if there's really a set order. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna do this in a set order, but I'll do them all. I'll discuss the ones that I have on here, and then I figure I'll probably go from there, and I'll probably rank them at the end, maybe tell you which one's my favorite, which one's my least favorite, all that stuff. Um, Dude, Nate, the Blu-ray is incredible. Nate's asking about the Blu-ray of this Cannibal Ferox. This is an incredible Blu-ray. I track. It was hard to track this one down because it goes for quite a bit of money. But once I got it, I immediately was like, this was worth every dollar I spent because it has stupid features. I would show the I believe, yeah, I can't show the front of this because it has a naughty little cover. I could show this cover. This is a little booklet that comes with it, Nate. Super cool. Make Them Die Slowly, the American title, where that was what it was called in America. And as you can see here, I don't know how well you can see, but it says banned in 31 countries. Super cool. I always thought that was really cool. And this little booklet's actually pretty neat, like discussing and more graphic stuff that I can't show here on YouTube because Coppa's after me. Uh, yeah, so without further ado, I guess I'll get into this. So, the movie that started it all, the movie that kind of pushed the cannibal subgenre on top of the horror genre was a movie called Deep River Savages. And that's directed by Umberto Lindsay, who actually went on to direct Make Them Die Slowly, aka Cannibal Ferox. And I'll be honest with you, I watched this movie. It's not your quintessential cannibal film. It really is exactly what you think it would be. It's a Kickstarter cannibal film. It's a cannibal film where we don't get any really raw, gritty cannibal. We don't even see a cannibal until about over an hour in. And that would bother some people. I won't lie. I'm sure it would bother some people. But in all honesty, I thought this was an actually entertaining movie, and it was basically I said this, when I was watching it. When I was watching it, I was just like, this is like Dances with Wolves meets a cannibal film. And it's basically exactly that. This guy goes into this tribe where he's captured, and he basically has to earn their trust, earn their respect. And there's some crazy shit in it. I won't lie. Like Mimi Lay is one of the cannibal females in this, and she's in full out makeup, which I always thought was really funny. I'm just like, where did this cannibal find mascara? Like, I was just like, God damn, like this is like really bad. And I don't know, I just thought that was funny. But I enjoyed this one for what it was. I thought it had its moments. I thought there was only one scene of real cannibalism in it, but I would say that as a film overall, it really worked. It was entertaining from the word go. It was pretty well acted, I thought, from the word go. And I thought that it definitely surprised me because I thought, okay, a cannibal film without the exploitive elements, it will never work. But this movie really works. I thought it was a pretty fun time, and I thought Umberto Lindsay did a great job. But the thing that this movie, the reason I think that it has become the template and the movie that people continue to rip off, whether it's Emmanuel Cannibal of the I think it's Emmanuel of the Cannibals or something like that. The Last Cannibal of Emmanuel. I don't know, something like that. I forget the goddamn title of that one. I'm not talking about that one on this show. That's not a video nasty cannibal film. And then Jungle Holocaust, which was Diodato before Cannibal Holocaust, or no, Jungle Holocaust. And yeah, like this movie, it has the animal cruelty. It has the one scene of classic cannibal eating. This has the women getting, you know, taken advantage of. You have a lot of stuff in this movie that is the classic cannibalism stuff in subgenre, but I would say that overall, this one is definitely like the most tame of them all. But it's the one that started it all, so it makes enough sense. And I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was like Dances with Wolves meets Cannibals, and I thought Dances with Wolves was great. So honestly, this one was no exception. I thought this was a pretty goddamn good little cannibal movie personally. So if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd probably come in at like a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed this movie. I thought this was a good one overall. So that's Deep River Savages. Really enjoyed that one. So okay, so moving on. This one I had a lot of fun with. This one I rewatched last night. So this one's the most fresh in my mind. So I guess I'll go into this one next. And it is none other than Ursula Andress and Stacy Keach in Mountain. of the Cannibal God. Yes, I believe, yes, this one was directed by Sergio Martino in 1978. All right. This one is another one where until the final act, this is not your classic quintessential cannibal film. It, to be honest with you, it's more of a jungle adventure movie until you get to the final act where you go balls deep in cannibalism, you go balls deep in what these movies are all about, the exploitation elements of the cannibal genre that I've grown to love over time. And I'm sure that the people that are watching this, the people that are fans of these movies will love too. But basically the movie starts off, it's Ursula Andress and her husband's gone missing. He was in the South American rainforests or whatever, and he's gone missing. And she confronts Stacy Keach, and she's like, I listen, I really want to go save my husband. I want to find my husband. I loved him and all this stuff. And Stacy Keach is like, all right, so we'll go and we'll see if we can find him. And a long part of this movie is them looking for the husband, trying to find him and see what happened to him. And I'll be honest, can it get a little tedious at times? Yeah. Like around the 40-minute mark, I was like, are we going to get anything in this movie? But boy, oh boy, when you get to the final act of this son of a bitch, you are going to have an absolute blast with this movie. Basically, there are some twists and turns along the way. There's these, these scenes where Ursula Andress, Stacy Keach, and these two other guys, they're climbing a waterfall, and basically one of the like Ursula Andress's other guy, not Stacy Keach, he lets one of these guys just slip and fall to his death like on purpose, and you realize that Ursula Andress is kind of a heel in this. Like she's misses her husband, but he had something valuable, and that's what she wants. Like she was after the money the whole time, and I thought that was pretty weird for like a lead protagonist to turn heel before the third act of a film. But it doesn't really matter because they don't ever really go back to that. She just they kind of ignore it. But I always thought that was a really weird twist. But basically her, Stacy Keach, and the other guy are captured by these cannibals. And the third act of this movie is just simply sensational. I have a ball with the third act of this movie. You basically have Ursula Andress, they tie her up and stuff just like this. They strip her naked. They put like all this shit all over her, which was an awesome scene to watch. I won't lie. And in like awesome fashion, they're torturing Stacy Keach and this one guy. They eat this one dude, and like it's just a batshit crazy finale, man, where they did not hold anything back. Like Sergio Martino is a sick son of a bitch, man. There's a scene in this, I'm not even kidding you, where they're having like cannibal orgy and like everyone's having sex and shit. And then next thing you know, one cannibal's having sex with a pig. He's having sex with a boar. And like I was just like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? Like, I thought that was one of the funniest goddamn scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie because I was just like so taken back by it. I was like, what? Like it's just random. Like you see Ursula Andress is like this, and then you see these two cannibals having sex, and the next thing you see is this pig eating grass while his cannibals behind him going to town on him. And I was just like, yo, what? Like it is a bat crap crazy third act. I love it. I the first time you see that, you can't unsee it. And like I bawled laughing. Like I kept rewinding it. I was just like, am I really seeing this right now? Like so surreal. And there's a scene where this little midget cannibal goes up to Stacy Keach while he's in the cage and he's like poking him with a stick. He's trying to taunt him and shit. And then Stacy Keach just kicks him once. The cannibal falls back. The midget cannibal falls back, hits the top of his head, and the top of his head just pops off like a fucking it pops off, dude. I don't know why, man. It's just so bizarre, and all his brains just spill out. I was just like, dude, like, no matter how hard somebody kicks your ass, there's no way that your top of your head would just fly off like that. But I just that was so funny. Yo, yeah, Nate says it sounds batshit crazy. This is a batshit crazy final act of a horror film. This is how it's done, man. Because it's funny, but some of the scenes are pretty horrific. Like there's a scene where one of the cannibals goes to try to rape Ursula Andress, and you're thinking, okay, this is definitely going to go down. There's nobody going to stop him, but it's against their primitive to have him have sex with her. So they actually take that specific cannibal aside before he can get to to Ursula and have sex with her. They take him aside and castrate him, and I was just like, holy shit, like They castrated their own kind. Like, I thought that was really, really scary. Like, I was just like, holy shit. Like, I didn't see that coming. I thought for sure he was gonna get to Ursula and, have his way. But this one threw a left when I thought I was gonna get a right, and bam, they kill his ass immediately. And I thought that was really, really cool. Um, yeah, and then you basically Stacy Keach breaks out, he breaks Ursula Andress out, and then you have these really goofy fights where they're beating up all these cannibals. And there's really funny scene where this one just throws a fucking like a spike at Stacy Keach, and I don't know why, it was so limp. It was just such a limp throw, and Stacy Keach just looks at the cannibal like, "Bitch, please," and it just beats him up, and him and Ursula escape into the like river area, and then they fight more cannibals that start jumping off the cliffs to get them, and like full Rey Mysterio WWE style, just jumping off, and Stacy Keach catching them and beating the shit out of them. Like, I thought this was a really fun final act. Like, the movie as a whole, I won't lie, it can be boring at times. Like, I honestly, like, when I watch this, I usually just try to watch the final act. Um, like last night, I was just like, I'm not rewatching this whole movie. I'm just gonna rewatch the final act. Like, the actual cannibalistic parts of this movie are sensational. I wish the whole movie was like that, but I feel like that would have been a hard pace to keep. But this is a really good movie. I like this movie a lot. I think Ursula Andress is one of the most beautiful women of all time. I love her as the lead. I thought the heel turn was really unexpected because, like, I thought, no way Ursula Andress is going to be antagonist at any point in this movie, but she does kind of turn heel. And she has to turn back babyface really at the end in order to survive. And I thought that was really cool. And I will say, man, just as a fucking point to make, Ursula Andress's body is stupid hot. Like, she's one of the only women I could ever think of that truly had like the hourglass figure that is so hard to obtain. Like, she had big old titties, the smallest waist you could imagine. Like not like I don't she must have had a negative waist size and then a fat ass. Like, that's a classic fucking hourglass figure, man. I love Ursula Andress. She had amazing body, and there's no doubt in my mind that's why she was picked to be one of, if not, I think she was the first Bond girl. I could be wrong about that, but she was one of the first. I know that. Yeah, I think she's beautiful in this. I think Stacy Keach is a lot of fun. I love Stacy Keach in anything. I think he's really funny. I think he's a good actor. He plays this up. He's really serious in this movie, and I really like that he took a project like this so damn seriously. And I'm glad he took a project like this at all, because there were two Western actors that were pretty well known, and then they're doing this random Italian cannibal movie with fucking Sergio Martino in the South American rainforests. I just love that. I think that's so cool. I appreciate Ursula for doing the nudity, because I know a lot of women today are very uptight about it, but she was one of those women I read in an interview where she was just like, yo, I was beautiful back then. I wanted to show my body off. I love shit like that. I think horror needs more actresses like that with that mentality. I'm beautiful. Let me flaunt my beauty. That's, I think, a great thing. Yo, Nate, yeah, it is. She is really hot. I think Ursula Andress is an absolute 10, man. She's also on the back too here with this kind of spike thing. I don't know. I don't know what you'd even call that, but yeah, she's gorgeous, perfect body. This is another one I really have. I like the final act of this one. Like, if I was to rate the final act of this one, I'd probably give it a 9 or a 10 out of 10. But as a movie as a whole, I'm probably gonna go same rating. I'm probably gonna go with 7 out of 10. I enjoy this movie. I think the first two acts are a little bit long, but once you get to the batshit craziness, once you get to the cannibalistic, crazy batshit third act, I think it's an excellent movie, almost a perfect movie. You got beautiful women, you got boobs, blood, and mayhem, you got all that stuff, you got cannibalism, you've got a lot of, again, animal cruelty, but it's all stock footage of animal cruelty, which I thought was really bizarre, but it's kind of funny. I don't condone it by any way, by any sense of the matter, but you could clearly tell it was stock footage. That's why it was funny. I was just like, this was not shot by the director. This is clearly stock footage. Um, yeah, man, Mountain of the Cannibal God. It's a good time. I really enjoy this movie. Check out Mountain of the Cannibal God. It's one I really, really enjoy. Okay, so we're gonna refer back to the list now. And we can do this is going to be tough. I don't know how to really separate these. So I guess we'll do The next one we'll do Cannibal Apocalypse. Cannibal Apocalypse was directed by the legendary Antonio Margheriti. If you've seen Inglourious Bastards, you know what I'm referring to when I mean when I do this. Uh, there's a scene in Glorious Bastards where Eli Roth, Brad Pitt, and oh god, I always forget the actress's name, but they're going to the play, like they're or the movie, the screening, and they all have to use their fake Italian names. And Eli Roth's fake Italian name ends up being Antonio Margheriti, which is actually a nod to the director of Cannibal Apocalypse, Antonio Margheriti. They, I guess, I would assume that Tarantino and or Eli Roth were a fan of the movie and were just like, let's give him a plug here. And I really love that. I think that's a great thing. Like, I've never been the biggest Eli Roth fan. Like, I'm not a liar. I will not say that I like his movies really. Like, Cabin Fever to me is his only movie that I actually get enjoyment out of, really. I'm not a big Hostel guy, not a big Green Inferno guy. Just not the biggest fan of Eli Roth's work. But I do always really appreciate his passion for the genre, especially a movie I'll talk about towards the end. He champions Cannibal Holocaust like none other. He loves that movie. I think that's one of, if not his favorite movies. But I thought it was really cool to give Antonio Margheriti a fucking plug in Inglourious Bastards, which is one of my favorite Tarantino films. So every time I watch that scene, I think of this movie, Cannibal Apocalypse. But I don't own it, unfortunately. It's a hard DVD to find for me. I don't know if anybody knows if it is it on eBay for a little bit cheaper. Like it's pretty expensive on Amazon. I think it was like 30 something bucks. And it was like from a third party. It was used. And I was just like, I don't want to buy used DVD for $36, man. Like, no, like a bare bones DVD at that too. Like, fuck that. Like, if I'm paying $36, I better get some fucking features. I better get a blowjob. I better get a fucking thing of Jiffy Pop, like Mountain Dew. I actually have my Mountain Dew right here. I got my Mountain Dew. Got my Code Red Dew. It's never a graveyard episode without some fucking Code Red. Am I right? Oh man, that is the best stuff on earth. Um, Screw Snapple. It's all about the Dew, right? But Cannibal Apocalypse, getting into this one, I'll be honest, this is not really your quintessential cannibal film. It basically focuses on these war vets. They come back from the war and they contract this sort of virus that turns them into cannibalistic, hungry for the flesh. And, it's back crap crazy from there. I will say, I think this has one of the best pacing, like best movies for pacing on the entire cannibalistic video nasties list, because I think it has a really good pace to it. It's very quick. It stars Giovanni Lamberto Radici, who is also in Cannibal Ferox as the lead heel. He's in this as the lead heel. He's in House on the Edge of the Park with David Hess. He's like his side guy. He's in City of Living Dead playing that like perverted, retarded guy that gets the drill into his head. He's been in a ton of great cannibal movies. Well, not just cannibal movies, but great horror movies, great Italian horror movies. And this was his first film role, and he does a great job, man. He does the crazy eyes really good. I was watching this guy's video, Ghost Bait One, who has an awesome channel. He talks about all these grindhouse exploitation horror movies, and he was talking about this movie and his crazy eyes, and he's just like, man, the guy just sells it all with his eyes, and he's so right, man. When Giovanni Lamberto Radici is trying to kill you, he just gets this crazy look in his eyes, and I love it, man. I think Giovanni Lamberto Radici is an awesome actor. Of course, you have John Saxon as this as the lead babyface, and he's trying to figure out what's going on, and you have these awesome scenes, man. I enjoyed this movie a lot. You have these scenes where, Voltage is the bomb, Nate. Voltage is fantastic. Code Red's my favorite, then Original, then I go Voltage. I love those. I think those three are the best, though. Screw Whiteout. And if anybody knows what Pitch Black is, Pitch Black Mountain Dew is amazing. That's the great Mountain Dew. That's amazing. But back to Cannibal Apocalypse. Cannibal Apocalypse, there's some awesome scenes where towards the end of the movie, Giovanni Lamberto Radici, he's sitting in I love his channel too. Ghost Bait One is so lit. Giovanni Lamberto Radici, he's sitting in this movie theater and he sees this couple in front of him like making out, and she kind of puts her neck out like this while the boyfriend's kissing her neck. And Giovanni Lamberto Radici just looks and is just like gets a flashback from the war, And for some fucking reason, he just jumps up and bites her in the neck and like rips her neck off. And then the boyfriend's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And this causes a crazy ass panic in the movie theater. Then you have this awesome kind of motorcycle shootout in this like not exactly a mall, but like a mall like little area. It kind of felt reminiscent to me a little bit of Dawn of the Dead. This is really yeah, this is really like infected person movie meets a cannibal movie. Like this is definitely along the lines of 28 Days Later, The Crazies, but if, you know, the Crazies were cannibals. That's really the only difference. It's not your classic we go into the jungle and we're awful to the tribes and then we get our comeuppance. It's not that classic formula where like Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Holocaust. But I will say I like this change of pace. I really like this change in uh mood and change in tone because a lot of these movies, like if you watch Mountain of the Cannibal God, followed by Cannibal Holocaust, followed by Deep River Savages, it's basically they're all the same movie, which the only difference is each one tries to up the other. With the exception of Deep River Savages because it was the first. But this movie compared to Deep River Savages, we're gonna have pig fucking in the third act. We're gonna have a midget lose the top of his fucking head. We're gonna have a guy get castrated. They just went crazy. And then when we get to this movie, I mean, this is one of the most. It literally says it right here, the most controversial movie ever made. This one up the bar to a point where I don't think it can ever be topped again. Um, so a lot of these movies they feel the same, but if you're looking for one that does not feel the same, one that moves the pace along, and I think has really good acting, really good gore effects, like I would say Fulci worthy gore effects from the director Mr. Antonio Margheriti. I love saying that by the way, I can't help it. That's the greatest last. I wish my last name was Margheriti instead of Grande at times because Margheriti it's so much fun to say. Um, yeah, I think the gore in this is fantastic. I think the acting is really good. I thought the story was really good. And I thought that like overall, I thought this movie just had a great pace to it. I never was bored with it. I thought it had a I had a really fun time with it. I thought the idea was really good. I just thought the whole thing as movie as a whole is a good film. It's entertaining from the word go. I couldn't recommend Cannibal Apocalypse enough. I honest to God just wish there was a better edition of it out. If someone knows of a better edition out, do not be afraid to tell me. I would buy that shit immediately. I just don't want to pay $36 for a used DVD. Like I'd rather just stream it online than pay $36 for something that could be scratched, could have a bad damaged case. Like I don't, like this movie for example, I got this for $7 on Amazon. $7. I got this. That's a steal. This one I think I got on Best Buy for like $20 a couple Christmases ago. And this one I paid the most for this one. This one was like close to $30. But this was well worth it when I got it. I was like, holy shit, like thank God I got the Blu-ray of this because it's incredible set. But yeah, man, like I don't know if anybody knows of a way to get Cannibal Apocalypse on a better edition than the used one on Amazon. Please let me know because I'd love to pick that one up. Cannibal Apocalypse. If I had to rate this one, I'd probably come in at a solid 8 out of 10. I really enjoy this movie, and it's not like I know there are a lot of people that'll complain this isn't the quintessential cannibal movie. It doesn't. I think what it does is it takes the cannibal tropes and it makes its own movie with them. And I really, really appreciate that. I think a lot of people that are sick of these movies, like that have watched these movies to death, would probably really get a lot of enjoyment out of this one because it is more along the lines of the crazies of the 28 Days Later films. And it's just with cannibals, with war vets. I thought it was a really, really good idea. And Mr. Antonio Margheriti, he did a fucking great job, man. I love Antonio Margheriti. He's the man. And I'm always glad that Quentin and Eli, I don't know whose idea it was. Probably, I would actually say probably Eli's because I know he's a mark for Italian cannibal films. To give him a shout out in Glorious Bastards. Always thought that was really cool. So that's Cannibal Apocalypse. I really, really enjoy that little movie. 8 out of 10 for me. Going up next, this is tough. I don't know how I'm gonna divide these. I know I keep saying this, but I want to talk about one next that actually I would say this one, yeah, maybe. All right, I'm gonna talk about one of the big ones first, and then I'll go on to this one that the one that surprised me the most, and then the worst one, and then the best one. That's how we'll order this. So getting on to one of the big ones here. This is one of two cannibal movies that I think really make this genre what it is, this subgenre what it is, and a movie that I think is just so uh, gritty, so raw, so well done in a lot of ways. And the movie I'm talking to you about is Cannibal Ferox. This is an awesome little flick, aka in America, this is the title, Make Them Die Slowly. Banned in 31 countries. I love that. I love this cover. I actually think this title is a lot better too. Like I almost wish they released this as Make Them Die Slowly, but I know Cannibal Ferox was the name, so that's fine. And that makes you know it's a cannibal film off the bat, right? But yeah, man, Cannibal Ferox, aka Make Them Die Slowly. I love this movie. I think this is a really, really good cannibal film. It basically stars, oh God, I forget the lead actress's name, but Giovanni Lamberto Ludici is also in this as the heel. I'm gonna look up the actress's name. Oh, don't tell me they don't have it. Shit. All right, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but she was also in House on the Edge of the Park, and as was Giovanni Roberto Radici. So she's a pretty good actress. She's really beautiful. She's basically going into the Amazon again, and she's looking for like I don't know, just to study these tribes, stuff like that. They probably say it, but like it's very minor, very minute, and she goes in, she meets Giovanni Roberto Ludici's character, and he tells her that, oh, we were attacked by the tribe. They're awful, awful people. And they kind of believe him, and then they're on the run from these tribe, and then basically they get captured because Giovanni Roberto Radici is just a crazy, evil son of a bitch. And he starts doing some awful, awful stuff to the people, the cannibals of this tribe. He shoots their dinner at one point. There's some crazy animal cruelty in this one too, which is, we obviously I don't condone, but it's very prominent here. There's some crazy stuff there, and he's having sex with one of the ladies with the lead girl. They're having sex, snorting cocaine after. Like this is a very un PC movie. Like there's very few movies I could think of that are as less politically correct. Maybe the number one slot on this list that I'll get to. But this is a pretty hardcore movie, and I think this is like not for everybody. Like I would not recommend this one to somebody who's not watched, R-rated horror or X-rated. This is pretty much an X-rated horror film. Um, there's some incredible special effects makeup scenes. I can't show any of them because they're literally too graphic. There's a scene where they're torturing one of the girls of the tribe, the one that Giovanni Lamberto Radici has sex with, and they put hooks in her breasts. Like they put full on hooks. It comes with a little CD where they have that artwork, but I can't obviously show that because it's breasts and copper will, kill me or find me, you know. But it's really graphic. And like if you look it up, you will actually get sick to your stomach. Like, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh my God. Like they have her hanging by her breasts on these hooks, and she's just squirming, and you could just see the pain on her face of, oh my God, like she's her whole entire body is being held up by her breasts through these hooks. And like it looks real, man. Like whoever did the effects of that, bravo, sir. I'll fucking give you a golf clap because that is some of the most incredible effects work I've ever seen in any horror movie. It's just so well done, and it scared the bejesus out of me the first time I saw it. This movie has a really nice, like, yellow tint to it that really makes it feel dirty. The entire movie, it's a dirty, grimy, gross movie, and it really has that look to it. Even on Blu-ray, which I thought the Blu-ray transfer was fantastic, but it did not lose the original film negative, I guess. Like movies like Madman, once they switched to Blu-ray, they did the color corrected bullshit. This movie doesn't do that. This movie looks incredible, man. Oh my God, dude, Nate. Yes, that is a scene I want to talk about. So thank you. I'll even type a thank you, man. Thanks for reminding me. Um, yeah, they basically the two girls are in this underground part of while Giovanni Lamberto Radici is being tortured. I mean, they're cutting Giovanni Lamberto Radici's arm off, they're cutting his dick off. Like it's it's hardcore the shit they do to Giovanni Lamberto Radici. They end up taking the top of his head off. But the scene in this movie, and Nate, I appreciate Nate reminding me of this because this is probably my favorite scene in the movie too. There's a scene where these two girls, they're underground, they're like under, I guess, the campsite, and they could see what's going on, and they can only imagine their fate. And they start singing. They just start singing like a happy song that does not go with the moment. And what I thought was so beautiful about it is, and Nate says it right here, uh, it's to still show they have sanity. It's to still show that uh, there can be light in this world. There can be hope in this world. And it was, I think, a great scene because it makes you realize the horror that they were in. It's similar fashion to what Stanley Kubrick did in his 1987 film Full Metal Jacket. At the end of that movie, they're all walking away from the burnt fire and all the bodies and all these things. And what song are they singing? They're singing the Mickey Mouse Club song. Mickeymouse. That's how they were able to cope with it because it was just so terrifying for them. It was such a terrifying experience, and all the stuff they had seen, that was the only way they could cope with it. And I thought that is such a smart way to approach something like this because once you give your lead protagonists humanity and once you give them the desire for hope, it's so much more horrific when they don't make it. And the one girl that we get hung up on her breast, she does not make it. And like I really felt bad for her death. And but there was a time in this movie where she was being just as bad as Giovanni Lamberto Radici when it came to disrespecting these tribes. And that's a constant theme you'll find in this movie is disrespecting these cultures and stuff like that, and that thus provokes the cannibals to do the things that they do. It's not like, oh, these people just wandered on in here and got killed for no reason. Most of these movies give you the message that these people that came into the tribe, man, they were on the wrong. They were wrong to do the things that they did, and unfortunately, they've got to pay for them in the most gruesome, brutal ways. And I really liked that. And there's basically the lead girl. She's the only one that escapes. She gets out. She gets to this like helicopter, this plane on the water, and she goes back to the city. And she's like written a book about it, and she's asked at the end to get up and talk about it, and as the movie ends, she's almost at a loss for words. Like, yeah, she survived, but did she really survive with her sanity? And that's the question that Umberto Lindsay kind of asks the viewer as we leave the film, as we leave the screen. And I thought that was a really smart thing to tackle. And I thought that that was a really the thing about this movie I liked the most. Um, is this can this movie be dull in the beginning? Sure. It takes a little while to get going. It's similar to Mountain of the Cannibal God, where it takes a little bit of a while to get going, but once the shit hits the fan, it really hits the fan. I would say this has an even crazier final act than Mountain of the Cannibal God. I thought this one was really brutal. Just some of the imagery in this, I will never forget it. Like some of the torture scenes to Giovanni Roberto Radici are just completely unsettling. And I thought that Umberto Lindsay really tried to one up Cannibal Holocaust with this movie. Did he succeed? Honestly, I don't think so. But I think this is a worthy cannibal film. I know there are a lot of people nowadays that despise this movie, but I thought it had some morals, and I thought I loved that scene again where the two girls really try to figure this out and try to make sanity of it and try to keep their sanity. I thought that was genius. I thought Umberto Lindsay did a great job. I think this movie, in a lot of ways, is better and worse than his first cannibal effort, Deep River Savages. I think it's better when it comes to exploitation. Um, but as when it comes to a movie as a whole, I could see why people don't like it. But I do think overall it's a grimy, exploitative cannibal movie. What else do you expect? I think this is an awesome little movie. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10, the highest rating to this point. Absolutely love Cannibal Ferox, aka Make Them Die Slowly. If you get your hands on this Blu-ray, I know it does not go for cheap, but man, this is one of my prized possession Blu-rays because the features, it is literally look at that list of features, man. And that's just only on the bonus disc. There's features and a full feature length documentary on the disc with the movie. So it's just incredible, man. I love this set. I think this is fantastic. It was worth every penny I spent on it. And I really love the flick. So Make Them Die Slowly, awesome little movie. And now getting into one that I would say of all of these movies on the Video Nasties list, the Cannibal movies, this one surprised me the most, and honest to God, of all of these, might be like my second favorite, only to the number one movie, which we'll get to. But it is Cannibal Man. I gotta get the director. I'm gonna have to look up the director's name. I'm sorry, folks, I'm cheating here. I forget the director's name, and I really would like to say his name because I thought he made a fantastic film. I'm just gonna look up the director's name. Cannibal Man, aka Week of the Killer. That's actually the Mexican title of it, which makes more sense. Uh, Nate says that Cannibal Ferox is the second best cannibal film. I could totally, I would probably say yes. For me, probably two or three. Probably two, just because the one I'm about to talk about is not your quintessential cannibal film. But I liked it more for some reason. Like I liked it more than a lot of the ones on these lists. Directed by Eloy de la Iglesia. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce that, but I freaking love The Cannibal Man, and I thought of all these movies, it was easily the one that surprised me the most. It basically tells the story of this guy who works at a meatpacking place, and one night he's on his way home from like going out with his girlfriend. They're in a taxi. They're both drunk, making out in the back seat, and for some reason, the taxi driver is just like, I don't want you guys making out in my cab. Get out. And he kicks them out of the cab and he's just like, bro, like, take it easy. And basically, the cab driver doesn't take exception to being talked back to. And he goes at our lead character, and they fight and they beat each other up. And inadvertently, our lead character ends up killing the taxi driver, and they go back to the lead's. I gotta get the lead's name too. Like I forget the lead's name. This is such an awesome movie too, but I forget the goddamn character's name. I watched it about a year ago, and I thought it was fucking great. The lead character is Marcos, played by Vincent Para, who does an amazing job in this. And I believe his friend in it is Nestor, played by Esbio. Oh Jesus, this is a hell of a name. All right, yeah, we'll just call him Nestor because I can't pronounce that name. Um, Basically our lead Marcos, he doesn't know what to do. He goes back to his house with his girlfriend. The girlfriend's like, you have to tell the police. You have to tell the police. You killed him in self-defense. And he's like, listen, I make no money. I'm a low rent guy. Like the police are never going to believe me. They're only going to think that I did it purposely. I killed him on purpose and it wasn't self-defense. And in retrospect, the girlfriend's like, listen, if you don't tell the police, I'm going to tell the police. And he kills his girlfriend. He kills his own girlfriend because she wants to tell the police. And I always just was just like, holy shit, like I didn't see that coming. And basically the entire rest of the movie is kind of a slasher movie where this guy is trying to cover up the first murder he did and keeps having to murder all these people to cover up the last murder. All these people keep coming to his apartment, and he's got all the bodies in this back room. And the girl's brother comes, the girl's father comes, the girl's best friend comes. Like everybody and their mother come to see what happened to this girl and to check up on him. And it's a really fun slasher movie, really. And people may ask, why the hell is this a cannibal film? The reason this is the named Cannibal Man, won't lie, it's a very BS title. It's really, he's not a cannibal really. What happens though, the reason that I could see Americans getting that title, because the real title is The Week of the Killer. That's the real title. It's really a slasher film. But the only cannibalism there is in this movie is he takes some of the bodies at some points to the meatpacking place and puts them in the grinder to get rid of the bodies. That's how he's getting rid of the bodies. And there's one point later on where he's in the diner eating dinner, and this one guy goes to him, oh, this is the meat from your place that he's eating. and he just drops the fork and is in horror because he realizes he's eating one of his victims, but it's inadvertent. So, inadvertent cannibalism, you know, I kind of see why they could come up with the Cannibal Man title. That's the only real reason. But I would say that I think this is a great movie. And I people may make fun of me. I read a lot of poor reviews of this movie. It does get a 6.2 in IMDb, so I'm not the only one that likes it. But I would say that this of all of these movies was probably my second favorite. I just loved the way it was shot. I loved the lead character. I felt really bad for him, but at the same time, I was terrified of him. He did a great job. And again, this is another thing people will laugh at me at. This movie has a lot of homoerotic elements, in similar vein to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. And what I mean by this is there's a character in this movie that is his, like, too close for comfort best friend, and you realize that the best friend is kind of gay off the bat. He's not outwardly gay or just like doesn't have those overly gay tendencies, but you could tell that he's not straight. And he gives you the idea that he knows he can tell what's going on. He could tell that he's been killing all these people, but he doesn't really come out and say it. He almost slowly suggests that our killer should just come out and say it. And that's, I think, the point of the movie and the point of the message is he's trying to get the killer to come out about his secret, hence the gay element where gay people have to come out with their secret, and it's something that they don't want to do. It's something they feel uncomfortable about. It's something that they feel others will judge them about. Corpse Grinders, yeah, Corpse Grinders is oh my god, that's a classic bad movie. But yes, very similar in similar vein to Corpse Grinders. Although this is a very like this is 100% serious horror movie. There's not one funny moment in this. Um, I just loved the theme. I loved the theme with these two lead characters. I thought they worked really well together. And there's a scene where they're in the pool and they're talking about stuff and like honestly, like I was very floored by it. I did not think I'd like it that much considering like I'm a straight guy, but I thought it was a really well tackled theme of a gay person. I thought it was really well tackled. And I actually think the ending of this movie was my favorite, one of my favorite endings to any of these movies. There's a scene where he's killed all these people, and the friend says, "Hey, why don't you come over and we'll have a drink tonight?" And he does. And he says, "Hey, man, you want to check out my balcony?" He goes, "Sure." And he goes, "Check out the view." And he gives him this pair of binoculars. He puts them on, and he could see straight into the room where he has all the corpses, where he has all the bodies. And you realize that sorry, I got a bad cold. You realize that he has been watching all of these murders happen. He knows where all the bodies are, yet he didn't rat his friend out. And you get this scene where he goes to kill the guy and the guy does not resist. See, every victim before this resists. They don't want to be killed by the obviously they don't want to be killed. It's normal instinct, you know. But what I thought was so brilliant was this guy, the gay guy, he doesn't fight him back. He just literally sits back. He's like, "You're gonna kill me?" He's like, "You're gonna do it?" And it's through his submission. It's through the fact that he did not fight back, that he did not push back, that he is spared and he doesn't get killed. And I thought that is brilliant because it takes this theme where if any one of those people had just said, "Listen, let's figure this out, let's be civil, I'm not going to get in your face or yell at you or threaten you." It says that if you work things out civilly, everything will tend to unfold and work the way it's supposed to work and work out. And like I thought that was an excellent theme to tackle in a horror movie. And I've never seen it before or since, like that type of theme. Like the gay element, I've seen it in a couple of movies. But the element of submitting to the killer, and thus that is why the killer stops doing the things that he's doing. Absolutely brilliant, man. I thought that was really smart thing to do in this horror movie. Really liked it. I thought that was an awesome thing to tackle. Oh, dude, yeah. And Nate says cannibal movies could not be made nowadays. Absolutely not. They would not work nowadays. I know Green Inferno tried, but I felt like Eli Roth totally missed the fucking point of why these movies. I really like these movies, and we'll get into it when I talk with Cannibal Holocaust next. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just think this was a product of its time. Like even more so than 80s slasher movies, I would say the cannibal movies are a product of their time. They were late 70s, early 80s, dumbass people going to the jungle, doing some stupid shit and paying for it. That's the formula of a cannibal film. You're going to see some nudity, you're going to see a lot of blood, you're going to see some castration, you're going to see some animal cruelty, you're going to see some crazy shit. It's not politically correct what you are going to see, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's an awesome little formula, and I really like most of these movies. But if I was to rate Cannibal Man, just going full circle, I'm going to come in with a surprising 9 out of 10. I loved The Cannibal Man. I thought The Cannibal Man was probably the second best movie on this entire Video Nasties Cannibal list, which brings us, I just want to double check the list. Is there one I'm forgetting? Um, oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, before we talk about my favorite one, Cannibal Holocaust, we've got to talk briefly about the worst one, and that is Cannibal Terror. I don't care to look up the director's name. I don't care to look up the actors' names. This is by far one of the worst. I think this could be the worst video nasty that there is, and possibly one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. I know Nate watches OCP Communications. He actually did a review of this and gave it the moniker one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And he's not too far wrong. I watched this about a week ago. I couldn't get through it. I got about 45 minutes in, turned it off. I thought this was a piece of shit movie where you have these dumbass people just staying in this hut in the jungle, and there just happens to be cannibals next door. A lot of the cannibals you could clearly tell are just white people that they just fucking tried to make look like primitive, like cannibalistic. It's so poorly made, dude. There's like 3 or 4 credited directors. I guess none of them wanted the credit for it. It's a piece of shit film. I don't recommend it to anybody. It gets a 2.2 on IMDb. That's fucking bad. It is one of the worst cannibal movie. It's the worst cannibal movie ever made, and it is arguably one of the worst video nasties. Like it's up there with like Boogeyman 2 or Mardi Gras Massacre. It's a pretty bad movie. Like you'll realize that for all the good movies on the video nasties list, there are a lot of fucking shitty ones, and Cannibal Terror is probably the worst of the worst when it comes to uh, cannibal films. I really, really hate Cannibal Terror. I don't even want to go into it. I'll go with IMDb. I'll give it a 2 out of 10. No, I'll give it a 1 out of 10. That's a piece of shit movie. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is arguably the lowest rating. That and Hereditary, I think, are the only two I've ever given a 1 out of 10 on the show, but I hate both those movies. So it goes to show you. But going from a 1 out of 10 to a movie that I consider perfect, to a movie that from a 1 out of 10 to a movie that is in my top 10 horror movies of all time, a movie that I have just grown to love, a movie that I feel like is grossly misunderstood, and a movie that I think can never be topped, can never be upped, can never be done again. And it is none other than Ruggiero Diodato's Cannibal Holocaust, the most controversial movie ever made, and in my opinion, the best cannibal movie ever made. And I would say this is in my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. It's so hard to go into this one because like I've talked about it to death with Nate on his channel. I've talked about it to death to my friends, like trying to convince people why I love this movie. I will say that first and foremost, I think this movie is misunderstood. I think this movie is grossly misunderstood. Um, I think a lot of people just see the title. A lot of people hear the animals, the stuff with the animal cruelty, and they watch it just wanting to see some crazy shit. Is there some crazy shit in this? Hell yeah. There's some crazy shit in this. I'm not going to lie. But I think the greatest thing about this movie and the reason why I love this movie so much is because of how beautifully it is directed. Pop it, lock it. I don't know who you are, but rock on too, brother. And yes, Nate, Cannibal Terror is a piece of shit. But this movie for sure is my favorite, and I love this movie, and I think it's very grossly misunderstood. It basically tells the story of these filmmakers that go into the Green Inferno, and they basically go missing. And our lead character, at least for a little bit of the time, I want for some reason I fucking forget his name, of course. Uh, do I have his name back here? Jesus, I'm sorry, guys. I forget the fucking guy. Robert Kerman. That's his name. Robert Kerman is the lead who's looking for these kids in the Green Inferno. And a lot of the time, he's looking for the footage, and basically, he ends up finding their footage along with their bones, like their remains, like skulls, arms, whole torsos, just absolute bone at this point. And the second half of the movie is really about what these filmmakers did to get killed. And I think it's just a brilliant movie. I think it's really well acted. That's the first thing that people never mention. It's so well acted. Carl Gabriel York as the lead filmmaker, Alan Yates. He gives one of my favorite horror movie performances of all time in this. And I think he is actually the reason that there's a scene in this that I consider my favorite scene in the history of any horror movie. Um, I just love this. I think it's just so raw and it feels so forbidden. And that's why it's really scary. And that's why I think it really works. But I think the thing people miss about this movie is the theme. And I think the theme, it goes over a lot of people's heads because they want to just see some crazy, violent shit. And like you get that with this, but I think the theme is so much more important. Basically, the theme that they ask you, that Ruggero Deodato asks the viewer, is who are the real cannibals? Is it these primitive people in South America and the tribes, or is it these New York City film preps? And throughout this movie, where you're asking yourself that question, you realize that this New York City film crew, they have nothing remorseful about them. They are disgusting, evil, brutal, vile people. And they're sick son of a bitches. And like that really paints the picture as to why, what you think. Like Robert Kerman at one point, he says, "Oh, how would you feel if somebody came into your house and started eating food out of your fridge and raped your wife?" And he says that's what these people did to these cannibals. So they provoked being killed. They provoked all of this stuff, and they got their comeuppance. Like I think a lot of people just see this as, oh, it's graphic, it's hardcore, blah blah blah. But you miss a lot of them miss the point and miss the beauty of this movie. Nate asks, "Do I think Diodato went too far?" You're gonna People will probably hate me for saying this. It's a very un-PC answer, but I think he went far. I think he went far with it, but I think he didn't go too far. I really don't. Was killing animals necessary? No, but and people get mad. I think it really added to the vile, disgusting human beings that what these people were doing. It added to their disgustingness. It adds a lot to, you know, us hating them. And I think that is the point of this movie. So I don't think he went too far. I really don't. I know a lot of people do, and he probably did overall. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like he probably did go too far. But I don't know. Like I think he did a great job. Also, in the music of this movie, Riz Ortolani did the music of this. I thought he did a fantastic job with the kind of somber score, and then pew pew, like the little like effects, like sound effects. I love that. And the opening theme of this is just amazing. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. It does not match the movie. It's almost like a beautiful somber melodramatic score for this crazy batshit cannibal film. And I just love that. I thought that was always an excellent choice because it's so offsetting as to the tone of the movie is actually going for and achieves. But my favorite scene in this movie, the reason I love this movie and I think is a top 10 horror movie for me, is a scene after they get done raping this girl. And the next thing you see is this shot of these bushes and this shrubbery. And you see the shot, and the next thing you see is this image right here on the cover of this girl impaled on a pole, and she's impaled on this pole, and you basically the filmmakers see it and they go, oh my god, jackpot, go run over there. And there's a quick blink and you miss it scene where Alan, our lead Alan, is watching and looking at this impalement, and he's smiling, and he looks like he's getting enjoyment out of it. And the one filmmaker, the guy who has the camera, says, "Watch it, Alan. I'm shooting." And his smile, his grin, his enjoyment of that moment immediately turns to an overconcerned look, where he goes into this bullshit speech where, "Oh, good Lord, this is horrible. I can't understand the cruelty of this." And it was in that moment where I said to myself, like I was watching this for the first time, I said, "That's why I love horror." It's not all about blood. It's not all about crazy batshit violence. It's not all about what you think you would get out of a cannibal film. Although that stuff is there and that stuff is good. I'm not saying or diminishing that. But the reason I love this movie and the reason I love horror is because of its looks on the horrors of humanity and the horrors of people that can come from such good upbringings and yet turn so much for the worse. Like you see that this guy in the beginning, he's a dick, he's a douche, whatever. He's a New York City film prep, but he's the sickest son of a bitch in this movie. He's the sickest thing in this movie. It's not the animal cruelty. It's not the impalement of this woman. It's the sick son of a bitch smiling at it, enjoying it. It's the guy that's getting off on sensationalism because we all truly want sensationalism, and this guy just goes above and beyond. And like I just thought that is the beauty of this movie. I thought it was so well done and so well tackled, so well directed. I think it's a horrific movie to watch. To this day, it holds up and it is still terrifying. I think it is really well acted. I think a lot of the imagery is just terrifying. Like there's so many just incredibly uh, graphic and violent scenes in this. This one woman, they stone her to death. There's one woman where they take a fetus out of this woman, just bury it in the mud. Like you can't show this movie in Alabama, but it's either that way. It's pretty fucked up. Like I won't lie. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just think that this movie is always misunderstood. I think people watch it just looking for the terror and the cheap thrills. But I think the movie underneath that, the movie that Diodato, the message he was going for, is just simply amazing. And I think this is a perfect horror film. I love towards the end where they're screening this, like they want the footage that they've shot to show on TV. And basically, the people that are all in the room watching it, they all look at each other in disgust and are like, make sure you burn this fucking footage. Make sure this never gets out. And you see that even they were horrified and disgusted by what these people did. And, just some horrible shit, like having, burning down these people's houses and having sex in the ashes. That's what this guy Alan does at this one point. I think he's one of the best villains, antagonists in horror film history. I love him. And they have a full on interview with him on this Blu ray where he goes into, he basically got this role. Someone else had it first, and the guy backed out, and he came into audition, and they before he auditioned they said, "What boot size do you wear?" He was like, I forget what size. It was a 9. I think he says, "I wear a 9." And they were like, "You have the part." So he basically got the role only because he fit the boot size of the actor that backed out of this. And I always thought that was incredible. Like, wow, like imagine getting a role as the lead antagonist of the film just based on your shoe size. And then he just nails the role. Like, I think he's great. Nate says people complain about the effects. I thought they look great. There's only a few things that don't look very authentic. It's the clubs cutting people open and hitting people in the head. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you're gonna get that with any horror movie, but I think like when you talk about great special effects, I think you look no further than here. The first time I saw this, I nearly shit my pants. And the director himself had to spend 6 months in prison because of how good this fucking effect looked. They thought he actually murdered this girl, and he spent 6 months in solitary confinement because of this scene. That's goddamn insane. Could you imagine doing jail time for having a great horror movie effect? Like that's just crazy, man. If that was the case, Tom Savini would have spent life in prison, right? Uh, It's just an incredible movie. I love it to pieces. I think it is a perfect movie. I'm going to come in with a 10 out of 10. I love this movie. I think Cannibal Holocaust is a masterpiece, and I think it is loved and hated for all the wrong reasons. I think you should love this movie for what it has to say, for how beautifully it is shot, how well it is acted. I think this is a great film. I don't you think this is just a great cannibal film, a great horror film. I think this is a great film. One of my favorite movies of all time, the movie that pushes the boundaries, the limits, and challenges the viewers to really ask ourselves, who is the true cannibals? Who are the true cannibals? And when the credits roll, my answer is always Alan Yates, man. He is the true cannibal. He is the true villain. He is the scariest thing in this movie. And I know people disagree. I know people, especially the SJWs, they killed animals. All right, it was 1980. I agree it was fucked up and it was unnecessary, but it already happened. Like, let's just move on and watch the movie. And the movie itself, I think, is great. I think this is a great, great movie. Love Cannibal Holocaust. 10 out of 10 for me, and my favorite cannibal movie of all time. So if I had to rank these quick, I'm going to come in, of course. Well, you can do this from the bottom up. Cannibal Terror would be at the bottom. Then probably followed by either then Deep River Savages. Then I'd go Mountain of the Cannibal God. Then I'd go with Cannibal Ferox. Then I'd go Cannibal Man, and then I would go Cannibal Holocaust. All these movies, they're except Cannibal Terror. I would recommend them all. I think they're all pretty good movies. Cannibal Terror, I'd say skip if you have respect for yourself. Um, and yeah, and if there's one I could recommend more than Cannibal Holocaust or as much, I would say Cannibal Man. It's free on Prime. You could watch it. That's where I watched it about a year ago, and I was floored by it. I thought Cannibal Man was a great fucking movie, even though it's not the quintessential cannibal film. Nate says Cannibal Holocaust is an example in horror where a movie is so strong and so dark and so ahead of its time, nobody knew how to take it back then. Exactly. And I think to this day, people don't know how to take it. I think they hear about the reputation and before they watch it, they go, okay, I either love this or I either hate this. You've got to watch the movie for what it is. I saw this movie blind. I knew its reputation, but I said, listen, like, I'm going to watch this as a film. If I feel it's too gratuitous, if I feel it's too much, if I feel that, he was just doing it just to do it, I probably would have hated it. But there's a point, there's a moral, there's a message. And that's the scariest thing about it. Like, people just don't seem to get it. I don't know why. I feel like maybe just because the reputation again, I think people just don't know how to take it. I think that's a great point, Nate. By the way, if anybody watching this wants to hear our absolute full in depth, like Nate and I did a 2.5 hour fucking stream on Cannibal Holocaust. I believe it's still up on the Horror Boys channel. Nate, who's one of my best friends, he's got a great, great channel, great content. If you guys are ever interested in seeing, like, we literally talk about that movie for about 2.5 hours. And honest to God, like, I was enlightened that somebody else got it like I got it. Like, a lot of people that they hate it or they don't get it or they don't see it for what it's trying to say. And Nate actually sees it for what I see it as. And I was really happy that he agreed. I love Cannibal Holocaust. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. So check out that video if it's still on Nate's channel. I believe it is. Yeah, so that's probably going to be it for the show today. Again, it felt really weird doing the show not in the studio, but I got to take my grandmother to the doctor in like literally 10 minutes. So I've got to cut it short here. But I want to thank Nate. Thank you so much for watching, Mr. Pop It Locket. I don't know if you're still watching, but thank you for commenting. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the cannibal retrospective here on Video Nasties. As for the future, I want to talk about more Video Nasties. Like, I definitely want to do some rape revenge movies or just straight up revenge movies. There are some movies on this, like Fight for Your Life, that nobody talks about. That's a straight up revenge movie that I think is so fantastic. I would love to talk about the classics like Evil Dead, even though I did a show on Evil Dead. I would love to talk about, like, I Spit on Your Grave, uh, Last House on the Left. I've actually never talked about Last House on the Left, man, which is crazy. I have to talk about Last House on the Left on this channel. That's probably my fifth favorite horror movie of all time. But yeah, I'll definitely get back to this. My plan this week. I'm gonna try to have my good buddy Connor on the show. If he can make it, we will definitely do a show together. Probably not on the Video Nasties, but if he can't come on, I'll do another Video at Nasties episode. I figured I'll tackle it while I'll definitely take. Oh, dude, thank you so much for watching, Nate. I really appreciate it. It's on his discussion playlist too, so you guys can check that out too. That's an awesome, awesome video. One of my favorite videos I was ever a part of. Like, we literally just went bam, we went ham on Cannibal Holocaust, which this movie deserves it because I think it's a goddamn masterpiece. Yeah, so I'll probably be back next week, probably maybe a little bit earlier than not. And if I'm not talking video nasties, I'll be with Connor. And we've yet to decide a thing there. But yeah, we'll definitely get some more video nasties down the road. Some November nasties. I want to thank everybody for joining. I really had a fun time talking cannibal films, talking X-rated films, talking films that are banned in 31 countries, talking Make Them Die Slowly, Mountain of the Cannibal God, Ursula Andress's beautiful ass body, Cannibal Holocaust, and people impaled on poles. I love cutting promos. That's just like second nature to me, man. I love the cannibal genre, subgenre, and it's awesome. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. And if Nate is doing his top 50 horror movies of all time list tonight, totally check that out because that's awesome. Horror Boys channel. I don't know if he's doing tonight or tomorrow, but we'll figure that out. So that is going to be all for the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking ass. It's been too sweet today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the graveyard, and we will see you next week. Peace out, everybody.